This is my Kohala bicycle, and this was also the bicycle that I was training on that fateful day in Hawaii. And this is the bicycle on which I crashed. So it's very light. You can pick it up with one hand without breaking a sweat. This is the helmet that I was wearing on that day as well. It's a crack in the middle of my forehead, and there is also a rip on the side of my head. So I must have fallen quite hard, and the helmet itself definitely, if it didn't save my life, then it certainly saved me from a major traumatic brain injury. So I love this helmet.
I've been an athlete for a long time. Back when I was a teenager, I used to do track and field. I used to run 400 meters and triple jump. And one thing led to another, and I was doing less of it and less of it and less of it. And eventually to the point where I became very sedentary. And as a result of that, by the end of 1999, I used to weigh 275 pounds. So my wife and I were watching Ironman on TV on NBC, and this is when I turned to her after having watched it and said, that can't be difficult. And this is when she took me up on it and said, you show me if it is not difficult. So a typical Ironman consists of 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and a 26.2 mile run. I got started in the early 2000s with getting back into shape, starting to walk, starting to run a little bit, starting to ride a bike. And as I was doing it, I started noticing the positive change, the change that I was looking for. I'm down now to 175, so I have shed 100 pounds. I had a fabulous race year this year in 2012. I qualified for the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii, which is the full distance Ironman race. You do want to train a little bit. I set out and I felt very good. I felt very strong. I was watching my odometer. I was watching my speedometer. I remember thinking to myself, I just have two or three miles to go, and this is the last thing I can remember. Because the next thing I remember was waking up at the Kohala Hospital emergency room after 3 hours of being unconscious as a result of a bike crash. I just didn't want to acknowledge that I am in such a bad shape that I had to end up in the emergency room with a broken shoulder, with a broken clavicle. And I know that I wanted to be a part of this race. Even if I were to go there and watch, I just wanted to soak it all in. So we elected to volunteer on the race day, and we had a fantastic time seeing those athletes crossing the finish line. Part of me was happy, part of me was sad, part of me was very excited about the whole race. I wanted to see if I can manage coming back to the mainland and see my physicians at Dartmouth-Hitchcock, because all my physicians are at Dartmouth-Hitchcock. And I made an appointment with an orthopedic physician who happened to be Dr. Ames. I ended up with a titanium plate, which is perfectly contoured onto my clavicle, and I have 8 screws in it. And this is for the first time that I had a surgery done in an outpatient surgical center. And there is practically no comparison between those two. The customer service, the ability to be able to go home within a few hours of having the surgery done was absolutely uncomparable to any other experience I've had. I can have the same range of motion, the same strength, which will allow me to return back to my sport. And I knew that it can only be done by someone who understands, an athlete who has worked with athletes. And he gave me all the time that was necessary. He answered every question that I had. He put me at the ease that I wanted him to put me at in order to make that decision without any hesitation. Now I'm obviously going through rehab. I'm gaining strength, and probably in March I will start training for the season. And my ultimate objective is to qualify for Hawaii Ironman World Championship in 2013 and be back in Kona in just less than a year.